Welcome back to Gold Derby. Happy New Year, Joyce. We're in January 2022. We haven't done this in so long. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, how's it going?
It's been a year since I saw you. No, just 2 weeks, but it's a new year.
It feels like a year though.
Yeah.
This has been quite a year. It's 5 days old.
It's been a quite long 2 years, really.
Yes, certainly. It feels like it's been a year already. But we're here and we're so excited. We have a busy week, Joyce. Well, just to tee it up a little bit, we're gonna do our if you're the dozens of people watching this, if you are looking for our SAG Awards nominations predictions, the SAG Award nominations are announced next week on Wednesday. We'll do those tomorrow. We're gonna come back and do one of these at night. It's gonna be like a must-see TV, as Joyce said. So at least we'll be recording
like my favorite day growing up in the 90s.
I love it. I was a big Single Guy fan myself. I don't know about you. That was a great must-see TV entry.
I mean, I'm a Friends person.
I know.
Like I wrote my college essay about Friends.
Great show. So we'll do that tomorrow. But today we're convening here in the new year to talk about the only movie that people seemingly are still talking about, Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Well, also the only movie that's made money too.
So it's made literally $1 billion. It's the only movie as the Omicron. Is it Omicron, Joyce? Is Omnicron?
I just say like Omni for short, because we're pals. Yeah.
So as that has just exploded around the country, it is still the only movie people are seemingly going to see in theaters, so much so that there's no other movies really coming out in the next month. Everything is either punted away.
Morbius is moved for the 26th time to April Fool's Day, which is a really apt release date. It was supposed to come out at the end of January. It was originally supposed to be released, like 3 years ago now? I don't even know.
But yeah, that's coming. And the only real movie, I guess Scream is coming out this month. But Spider-Man will continue to make a ton of money. And it is now potentially a Best Picture contender, Joyce. We recorded the last time we chatted, it was right before Christmas, and we were talking about like what big movies maybe could get in. I had not seen Spider-Man as yet.
We finished recording like 30 minutes before you saw it.
Correct. So then I went and saw it. Absolutely loved it. Great movie. We're going to spoil Spider-Man here. If you haven't seen it yet, I apologize, but it's a great movie. Here's the spoiler. Andrew Garfield is in it. He's awesome.
Star.
Love him so much.
Peter 3, all the way.
Tobey Maguire, love seeing him. It was just awesome. The movie rules. It's so much fun. They actually pulled it off. And then we had talked about maybe that getting in as Best Picture contender, or I was like going down the Bond rabbit hole because it made a lot of short lists. That was my like rationale. But now I'm like, Bond, apologies to Mr. Bond, but I think Peter Parker has got him beat. And then the day after we recorded, the Hollywood Reporter published a massive piece with all the key Sony and Marvel executives talking about how they really think
and Tom Holland.
This should be the year. Yes, and Tom, that this should be the year that Spider-Man is nominated for Best Picture. It opened up a torrential rain of discourse because Tom Holland, again, for whatever reason, is talking about Martin Scorsese movies. God, I love Tom Holland, but please, everybody, stop. No one cares about that discourse. I can't.
That discourse is now going into its third year.
It's
off of just like a completely random like side answer to an interview he was giving about The Irishman.
Correct. And everything he said in that interview remains right, and I don't feel like it's a ding.
And it's also totally like whatever, who cares? And also like his daughter gave him like Christmas presents wrapped in Avengers wrapping paper. But now like actually I don't even care about like what Tom Holland said because it's like fine. But the worst result of that, his little quote 2 years ago, is that now everyone just asks every single director, would you ever direct a superhero movie?
Yeah, my favorite example of that genre, I think, was Jane Campion, which was earlier this year. Just loved it like so much. I love the idea of getting time with Jane Campion.
And that's the first thing you ask her.
Marvel. Just incredible. But anyway, so Spider-Man: No Way Home as a potential Best Picture nominee. Joyce, I think it could happen. I am one of the few and the proud experts here at Gold Derby who has Spider-Man in. The others were, I just look, Kevin Pollowy, Sasha Stone, and Keith Simonton. Those and me. Those were the only four who have Spider-Man, and I'm shocked you didn't put it in yet, Joyce. First,
I just haven't updated since it really. So I'll probably put it in. Yeah, because I would not be mad at all. I said that in our last column that like I would support it. the discourse has a lot of rabid supporters on one side and a lot of not anti-Spider-Man, but just like anti-Spider-Man Best Picture nominee.
Right.
Vocal. Not, yeah, like, so I I don't want to call them haters, but like that they're just it's sort of like a little bit of like a gatekeeping. And I was like talking to several people about this because it was just like very funny to me how remember when The Mandalorian got nominated for Best Drama Series at the Emmys in 2020 for season 1. Huge surprise, right? Like no one was really predicting it, but we were all just like, oh, that's cool. But no one was mad. It was just like, that's great. This like really populist, successful, well-received IP got a Best Drama Series nomination,
Right.
And then this past season, 2021, we were all predicting a nomination for it. It was probably second to The Crown. Who knows? Like Crown swept everything, but probably a very distant second. And also last season, we all wanted WandaVision, Marvel, not Star Wars, Marvel, to get nominated for a limited series. It did. It got 23 nominations. Everyone thought Catherine Hahn was going to win. A lot of support. Ika Long won. No one was mad about it. Like those nominations were celebrated. And it's just funny to me how like the Emmys and like TV in general has been more accepting of genre stuff. And granted, the Emmys have more categories. They split genres, comedy and drama anyway. So yeah, so I feel like it's still a little bit of that like elitism in film. It's like, it's the superior medium, we're classy. Right. We don't nominate superhero movies. And it's like, it's a good movie. Like, do I think it's the best movie of the year? No. Is it going to win Best Picture? No.
It's incredibly enjoyable movie though. And I think we had talked about this again. We have talked about this, like if there wasn't 10 nominees, a set 10,
right?
I would not have it in.
If it's 5, I would not nominate it. No.
And if it was 5, I would nominate. Even if it was 5 to 10, like it has been last year, I would not even expect it to make it. But when you have 10 nominees, like we said, the chances are very high that like one of these big movies could easily get in. And we went back and looked, and it's like, you can't tell me that Spider-Man No Way Home is much worse than The Blind Side, District 9, Up, Inception, and Toy Story 3. And even Avatar, honestly. I'm not the biggest Avatar guy. It was a big deal, but I'm like, that movie is
like people were predicting Avatar to win.
Correct. I mean, like this is like not that much dissimilar from those movies. And I think if those movies were when it was 10 nominees in the 2010 and 2011 Oscars, those were big blockbuster movies that made it in. I mean, Toy Story 3 is like a good movie, but like,
yeah,
it's still the third movie. It's like the same kind of. I think it's an apples to apples comparison, and I'm like, you know what, like so. I think Spider-Man can get in. Like we said, like I think from a producer's guild standpoint, it has a really strong shot, right? Which you probably did anyway.
PGA.
And then I don't think it'll be a lone nominee in Best Picture. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it could very easily get in for visual effects because the visual effects are really cool. They do a lot of like subtle de-aging on like Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina, unless they possibly haven't aged at all in 20 years. That could actually be true. But I still was like, I think
Willem Dafoe in his 60s, played a 30-something at Eternity's Gate. So
true, he does look great, and yeah. I love him when he's looking at that pancake box. Have you seen that meme, Joyce? When he's like in the grocery store looking at pancake box. And I could see it getting in like a sound nomination for sure.
Yeah, it was shortlisted in sound. So
it's like it is possible that it could get like 3-4 nominations, right? I don't know what the fourth one would be. I guess maybe like I don't know. It's probably nothing.
I think it could get those 3.
I think those 3 are very possible. I think the visual effects one actually is most likely because it's definitely the best received Marvel movie of the year of the 4 Marvel movies that they put out.
All 4 are shortlisted.
And all 4 are shortlisted and all 4 could get in. But I do think Spider-Man maybe has the advantage because it's like the biggest hit. And then I think the sound could get in too. I mean, like obviously like it's like a big sound movie, right? So it's like, there's a lot of sound, great sound, beautiful sound. I'm just going to keep using that one. I don't know. I think it's going to get in. I just don't think there's enough. Like we said, I think when you get down to the bottom of that Best Picture list, there's a lot of polarizing or, smaller movies that maybe don't have a ton of support. And I think for every, like, what is the 10th movie going to be? Is it like a Being the Ricardos, or is it like, Don't Look Up, which we'll talk about later. Though I think maybe
I think that's getting in. Like
I
I
actually think
never
that's
dropped
getting in now
that.
too. But it's like, is it a Drive My Car or Lost Daughter? Like all these like fringe, very good Best Picture contenders. I feel like we'll have a lot of, maybe not as much support or polarizing, or more polarizing, one or the other. And Spider-Man is, again, like, I don't know one person who is like, that stunk. Even the most cynical person has been like, yeah, that was fun. I liked it. Like, it's like very like,
yeah, it's I think I said this last time, like it was the most fun I had watching movies like in 2021.
and and I think like it's like definitely like this, the Hollywood Reporter piece with like the quotes from Kevin Feige and Tom Rothman and Amy Pascal who produced the movie, or like it's definitely like a, not a, I don't know if I go so far as to call it a fluff piece, but obviously they're pushing their agenda. But I was like, to Tom, I think there is, if you're running down the Best Picture nominees, and especially if you have 10 movies, which is then supposed to be like indicative of the best movies of the year, right? Or like the most noteworthy movies of the year, and like the platonic ideal of what a Best Picture lineup should be. It should tell you something about the year of movies. And 2021, you really cannot write or talk about the year of movies without talking about Spider-Man No Way Home, because like you said, it made so much money. Not that money is the only thing that matters, but it made so much money, and it was such a significant success for the industry, especially as like the whole idea of a theatrical movie is like kind of exploded. I don't know. I think that matters. And the fact is, I think the reason it made so much money is actually because it's good. I think if it wasn't as good, I don't think maybe it would have been as big of a hit. You know what I mean? Like they really did stick the landing on it. And I
Yeah,
think,
I mean, to be fair, there was more anticipation for this than there was for the other three Marvel films, really. I mean, you could
yes,
say Black Widow, sort of, but it's like we had been waiting literally a decade for that movie as well. And that's also sort of, it's weird to say, but it's like a smaller scale movie, and everyone knew what No Way Home was going to be because, the world's worst kept secret, like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were going to be in it. Like we knew like all their villains were coming back. So there was more anticipation for it.
true.
And
I will say this about that, spoilers, Joyce. I
yeah.
didn't realize how much they were going to be in it, and I was
Oh
very
yeah, they're in
happy
it a
about
lot. Yeah.
they're in a lot. It's not like cheaply
I
done.
would fully, like Andrew's running and supporting for Tammy Faye, but he should really run and supporting for No Way Home as well.
I defy Andrew Garfield, an incredible year with 3 great performances.
It's the year of Andrew, really.
I would say, as much as I love Tick Tick Boom, and I think I could see definitely moving him into first when we get to like closer to the end of this line. I would say the best thing he did all year was when he catches MJ and he's like as she's falling.
I knew that was gonna happen because I was like, they're just gonna give him like the redemption that like
it's so good. No, I knew it was gonna happen.
But like it was so good, and he's such a good crier.
Such a good crier, and it just was an incredible moment. It was really good. Here's the quote from Feige that I was like, I think this actually is applicable, even though I understand it's cynical to be like, well, it made the most money, it should get in. He was like, he talked about Black Panther, and he's like, I think both of these types of films deserve recognition. And I hope the Academy will, quote, think about the artistry that goes into the storytelling that connects with a wide range of people on a very emotional level. It's a good thing when people are in a theater and they stand up and cheer. It's a good thing when people are wiping tears away because they're thinking back on their last 20 years of movie going and what it has meant to them. That to me is a very good thing. The sort of thing the Academy was founded back in the day to recognize. I mean, that's cynical, but I'm like, I kind of know, I don't necessarily disagree with him. I don't know. I mean, like, again, with 10 movies, I just think that it really could have a spot there. I don't think would anybody be really mad? Like you said, like, I know there are people out there who are mad, but I'm like, would anybody really be mad if Spider-Man was one of the 10? It's not going to win. We don't have to worry about Spider-Man No Way Home winning Best Picture.
Yeah.
But I do think it really could make it in, and like should probably make it in. And if it wasn't even, and because it actually is good, like I said, like I think it was definitely one of my most enjoyable movies of the year as well. I thought I probably would have, I just really liked it. I thought it was so very watchable and like really well done. A lot of fun performances, and it's just a good movie. And I don't know, I'm like, I'd rather see that in than like a lower tier 1 or 2 nominee movie that most people maybe won't even think about again a year from the Oscars. You know what I mean?
Like definitely, like there would be filler nominees. I won't name anyone specifically, but if it were not No Way Home and you just have like, one of those like Oscar baity type movies just filling out like 9 and 10, like no one is going to remember they were nominated next month.
Correct. Like you could barely get you can barely remember what was nominated last year, probably. A lot of people. I know I can. I'm not going to ask you, Joyce. We know it was
I've also talked to several people about this. I feel like for all the flack last year got, because so many delays and COVID and everything, I feel like overall last year's slate and the nominees is stronger than this year's, even though there's more this year. And I do like several movies individually, but I feel like last year's movies were more interesting in a way.
I'd agree. I like this year's movies better, but I think you're right that they're more interesting last year.
Yeah, and I feel like it would have been easier to fill out a hard 10 last year.
Yes.
And it would be this year.
For sure. Anything else on Spider-Man, Joyce? I mean, I feel like I have it in. Like I said, I'm in. You'll put it in. I know you'll put it in. You'll do it. I'm
gonna drop Macbeth for Spider-Man.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Sounds like a great idea.
It's all very Shakespearean, obviously.
Well, let's do this. I don't want to derail this into Best Actor, but I would just we kind of talked about this a couple of times. We just did. Andrew Garfield with this big success and Tick, Tick, Boom. Does that help his Tick, Tick, Boom? Will this launch him further into the Best Actor race? Because I think even though we've been very much excited for him, I still think in the popular consensus, he's probably third, because people presume Will Smith is the mainstream broad pick for King Richard. And then Benedict Cumberbatch has won almost every major critics award, basically. He really did kind of clean up in the critics groups. And so he would be the alternate, but I'm is Andrew Garfield actually the mainstream guy? And maybe should even launch ahead of Will. We'll talk about this more in the next 4 months, because the Oscars aren't for 3 months. Sorry.
They're not even voting yet. So we're 3 weeks away from voting. Sure. But no, I thought about this even before No Way Home came out, just because Tick, Tick, Boom was just picking up momentum, and everyone I know who has watched that movie loves his performance. And I think we talked about this last time, he is carrying that movie to a Best Picture nomination. Mm-hmm. We were worried when it opened that he would just be a lone nominee if he were to get in, but I think it's getting into Best Picture. It's gotten a lot of Best Picture nominations from critics groups. It could get into sound, musical, and it could get into editing.
And what about adapted screenplay too? I could see you getting
if they really fall head over heels in it, and screenplay is not that strong.
Right. There's not that many. Yeah,
Stephen Levinson. So he's not going to be a lone nominee, and I do feel he has more passion than Will and Benedict for all. They have their supporters, obviously, and Benedict's, as expected, has been dominating the critics, and Will has underwhelmed. I don't think anyone expected Will to win more critics awards than Benedict, but even Andrew has won more than Will. Mm-hmm. And Nicolas Cage, who it's probably more of an outside shot of getting into Oscars. So I think Andrew, now with No Way Home, and people are also kind of they have a new appreciation for his Spider-Man, because he was always a good Spider-Man. He was just not in great movies.
So my hot take is that I rewatched all the Spider-Man before I went and saw Spider-Man.
I hope all in 2 days.
All in 2 or 3 days. We did. I will say Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man. That was my first take. Even better than Tom. As much as I love Tom Holland, I think Andrew Garfield really nailed it.
I think I love all of them. I mean, I will always have a soft spot for Toby.
So Toby's really good. The other thing is, I would say, and I don't think it's the movie's fault, but my impressions of the Sam Raimi movies were much diminished on watching them in 2021 compared to
because they were just a different time. When
it was a different time, and it was way before, obviously before Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff, and kind of they've really perfected the comic book form, I'd argue. And the Sam Raimi ones are really interesting, but I found a lot of it to be extra goofy. And I was just they're not much better. I guess my point was they're not, even though I don't think the Andrew Garfield ones really work either, I was they're not much worse than the Toby ones. That's I think the Tom's movies are the best by far. I think.
Yeah. And I think It's funny because I like that with Tom's, like they didn't do the whole origin story like they did with like Toby and Andrew's, even though now that we have the full trilogy, this is an origin story for Spider-Man.
Pretty funny that it ended up being
like, you know, the biggest criticism about the MCU Spidey is that he has too much like privilege and access because of Tony Stark.
Right.
And because he's supposed to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and now they did that again. They reset it. So
well, Joyce, we could talk about Spider-Man, but the other discourse I wanted to touch on before we wrap up here is Don't Look Up, which has now become one of the most popular movies ever on Netflix. I'm going to look up. Netflix sends a newsletter, Joyce.
It's the top 10 on Tuesday.
Top 10.
Yeah.
So it had 152.9 million hours viewed, according to Netflix, which is whatever dubious.
According to Netflix, you know, just like according to Tudum. So
yeah, according to Tudum, which is an editorial faction of Netflix. No, it had 152.29 million hours viewed, and since it was debuted on Christmas Eve, it has now been watched, according to them, in the first 28 days. So take these numbers with a grain of salt, but like this is their metrics or whatever it is. 263 million hours viewed, which makes it the third biggest Netflix movie ever. Sure. This I could just be, who knows?
It's just numbers. You're just reading numbers to me.
According to Netflix, it is behind only Red Notice, which is just a cinematic classic, and Bird Box, another cinematic classic, as the most viewed.
No one can beat Sandra Bullock. You know, Unforgivable did very well as well.
So. And Unforgivable is in the top 10 as well. A movie that like barely rated for anybody and is very popular. But so Don't Look Up, a humongous hit according to Netflix, and certainly was the dominant topic of conversation on Twitter for a week between Christmas and New Year's, at least.
I mean, it hasn't really ended.
Still going.
So,
basically,
it's maybe cooled off a little bit, but it's still going
a little bit. But basically, Adam McKay and who directed it, and David Sirota, who is a story credit and is a journalist, and Adam McKay's friend, and they came up with
they engaged.
They've definitely engaged. They definitely did not adhere to the don't read the comments adage. So they've read the comments and they have commented back, and then people commented back to that, and everybody kind of was like, it was not entirely unpredictable, because I think when we first saw it, I was like, people are really not going to like it. We knew it was going to be polarizing.
Oh yeah, like you knew way before you even saw it. Like, yes.
And especially, and so anyways, that really had spun out. And I saw a lot of people like maybe even defending the movie, and it's basically like, then there was a lot of like, oh, elite film critics don't like it. I saw that as like a take, but then the film critics were like, we're not elite, we could barely rub two nickels together in our jobs. And then there was a whole bunch
elite
of
doesn't mean rich. Like that's not like short term for rich.
I'm just contextualizing the choice. And so anyway, that was it. So now I had knocked out Don't Look Up, because as much as I really liked it, it was actually one of my favorite movies of last year. I really enjoyed it. I'm actually putting it back in because I think the discourse here helped it. Because I think
I never took it out. I always had it in just based on what happened with Vice. Right. I had it in, and even though like when the review embargo lifted a month ago now and it got savage, I was like, the industry is gonna eat this up, and they are.
And they have. It seemingly that's been the big thing. It is definitely like like don't tell me what to like. I can like what I want type thing. And I think you're gonna have a lot of people like pushing back on the pushback, and it's gonna end up getting in. So I think it will get a best.
And it's just like, it's, you know, like we've talked about, like it's not subtle at all.
No.
And it's like very easy to get. It makes you, it makes you feel like you're watching something important, because you know what it's saying and like what the message is.
Right. And they've been very vocal about the message. And also it has like a billion famous people in it. And I think a lot of times people are like, you know, beyond just the quality of the movie, or like, I like that person, I'm going to vote for a movie with them. Right. And this movie probably has the highest hit rate of like, there's going to be a lot of like, you know, people who maybe love Mark Rylance, don't love Leonardo DiCaprio, or, you know what I mean? There's like there's so many different permutations of people who could like be liked in it. I just thought that was going to help it too. So that's why I still have it in. But I have to wonder, do you still have Leo in? Because I'm wondering if he.
Yeah, I've always had Leo in.
You're keeping him in.
Like, I don't think he's like a complete lock for the nomination. I think like SAG will be telling, because like he can like I think SAG will like this movie, and he could get into SAG very easily. So, because I mean, like we were just assuming right now that it's between like him and Dinklage for the last spot,
Correct.
you know. And
so
like
who are
did
those four?
anyone see
We've got
Urinal?
Will, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andrew Garfield,
And
Denzel. You still have in Denzel Washington?
Yeah, I have Denzel in, and I mean, it'll be funny if Denzel is snubbed at SAG and like both Leo and Dinklage get in.
So we kind of, I think we're both. We'll talk about this tomorrow, but I think we're both leaning towards that because of I think the accessibility of Tragedy of Macbeth maybe is not is not
Yeah,
normal.
I think I feel like it's
not a SAG, not in the SAG wheelhouse, Joyce.
No, but like Denzel is respected enough that
Yes.
he could just like ride on his name alone.
That's true too. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, no, Don't Look Up. But then, what other nominations do you think he could get? That's what I was trying to figure out. We still think best screenplay, right?
Original screenplay could get it. It did not make the visual effects shortlist. It could get song, score for Bertel. He could be a double nominee. And I don't have it in any of the supporting categories. I think, you know, I kind of liked what like Mark Rylance was doing. I thought it was like weird, but I was into it. But I know it's very polarizing, that performance. And I don't like Kate and like Kate Blanchett, Meryl Streep, like they were fine, they were fun, but I wouldn't personally nominate either of them.
No, I wouldn't either.
I did have McKay in directing for a little bit, and then I dropped him.
I've also taken him out. I took him out.
I could see him getting in.
You could see him getting in. I guess the problem with that is I took him out because I was trying to figure out who to take out in Best Director. Let me look. Mine were Jane Campion, Steven Spielberg, Paul Thomas Anderson, Denis Villeneuve, and I put Kenneth Branagh in for Belfast.
I can actually see like PTA getting snubbed now.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Just I don't know. Like I don't think it's like Licorice Pizza. I don't know if they're gonna fall for it as hard as they fell for Phantom Thread. I feel like they respond more to his more dramatic movies, you know, and because like Don't Look Up did blow up so much, and you know McKay did make it in last time for Vice over several people that everyone was predicting. I could see him doing it again. Like I can see him getting into DGA first and then just translating that into an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, I mean, why not? So let me ask you this. So with Don't Look Up, I saw some people on Twitter speculating that like kind of as a troll. Is it possible this is a dark horse winner for Best Picture? Then Adam McKay would obviously,
too polarizing to win ultimately.
Seemingly is.
Yeah.
And maybe the conversation of the us versus them Twitter feuds does not really make it to the broader academy, let's say.
They don't care. They don't like
They don't care. But I was like, it could maybe I mean, that would be like the ultimate hilarious conclusion.
I would actually love it because like so many people would get so mad, and I'm just like, it's a movie, it's fine, like whatever.
It would really be funny, and it would obviously, I guess the other contenders there for the top spot would be like Power of the Dog, and Belfast, and West Side Story maybe are the top three at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would potentially give Netflix its first Oscar win, but for the movie that no one really expected to have it be its first Oscar win,
but that everyone watched.
258 billion hours or whatever it was.
Listen, Bette Midler hopes it goes all the way. So
like I could see it. I do think that like people are going to be like this, and it is like the movie with the message. And then if you're like, oh, like the Oscars, the Academy likes to pick a movie that has to say something about the society, like
and like the current times.
Then there's nothing really more current than Don't Look Up. Like as much as you know, it just obviously says more about the current moment than like a Power of the Dog, let's say, or Belfast. So that
it more like obviously says it.
Very much so.
But yeah, I feel like it's, you know, because it's preferential, like it'll have its diehard supporters that'll rank it first, but it's still gonna have people who don't like it who rank it last. I don't think it's that consensus.
It doesn't seem like the consensus pick. That's why I still have Power of the Dog up there, but I was like, I'm actually going to move it up. I'm going to move it up in my rankings, but went from not nominated to moving it up. I'm totally fickle, Joyce, as you might have guessed. Just cannot.
I should probably, I don't even know where I have it. I should probably move it up. I'll add Spider-Man.
Yes.
I have to support my Peters. My
Love
Peter
it.
3.
Peter 3 is so good. Andrew Garfield, just
Andrew Garfield, your future Best Actor winner.
Yeah, I don't have him in yet at the top, but
I haven't. I moved him to first in SAG even before No Way Home, just because of the response to his performance in Tick Tick Boom. And now I'm like, because like SAG is so populist, like he can actually win there, even if he doesn't win the Oscar.
Joyce, one other thing before we go, and we'll check in tomorrow about SAG. I wanted to tell you, I finally have dropped Jared Leto from my supporting actor list.
Wow, but you had him in first.
First, and now he's
Wait,
gone.
so he went from like hero to zero?
He went from hero to zero. I booted him out. God love Jared. I put Bradley Cooper back in. So
well, today is his birthday. So January 5th, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Bradley.
Cody, it's also my wife's birthday. So we have two potential January 5th rivals here.
So I didn't put Mike Feiston. I have Cody Smith-McPhee, Kieran Hins, Troy Kotzer, Jamie Dornan, and Bradley Cooper are my 5. And I put Cody at the top. I still think he's like not a lock, but I don't know. We'll see.
Why did you put Bradley back in?
I saw the movie again and I was like, and then thinking about it, he's just so good in it. It's so much fun. And even though he's only in it for like 8 minutes, I was like, I don't know. For some reason, I just think that movie is going to have a little more legs than House of Gucci. House of Gucci has made like a good amount of money. Actually, it's been like the lone adult movie to make like any kind of significant box office, but it came out so long ago. And I'm like,
man, yeah, the conversation has definitely diminished on
and the conversation has to continue for another 3 months. And I was like, the fact that Bradley has Nightmare Alley also I think is going to help him, because like I think while I don't know if that's going to really take off, everyone does think he's really quite good in it, and especially the end of Nightmare Alley, and I think that'll help Licorice Pizza performance. And I was like, I think Licorice Pizza, so you kind of threw me a curveball there, because I was like, I think actually it could do really well, and I think it'll get like at least one acting nomination. And since I don't have Alana in, I feel like he's the next best bet. Alana Haim.
Well, I still have Alana.
I still have Rachel Zegler in. Joyce.
That's because you just talked to her.
I talked to her this week. That's gonna go probably after we chat here. But just great conversation. And I had her in before that though, not a total hack.
Okay.
But I'm gonna leave her in because I really liked her performance. So.
Yeah, I think like my thing with Bradley. So when was the last time we talked? I think I explained this last time that I like why I put Jesse Plemons back into supporting actor.
We talked about this. That everything you said makes a ton of sense. That was really good.
Yeah, I just feel like even if like Licorice Pizza is a Best Picture player, like that's ultimately his performance is ultimately a cameo, and he's not even like doing any promotion for it. You know, like it's like he knows it's a cameo, and I don't know if that's the type of like coattail that would get in versus like a Jesse Plemons type of coattail, you know.
And Jesse seems like the one who's going to get in, but I just love Bradley in it. He's just so good. And I was like,
he's very fun. Yeah. But I wouldn't say it's like a wasted spot if he were to be nominated. But I feel like,
go ahead. Mm-hmm. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I feel like there are a lot of like permutations in that category that can make it really interesting. And I don't know if him getting in for that is like one of like the best permutations, no matter what the other 4 nominees are. Even though I really liked it and it was really fun, but it's like 7 minutes, like cameo, you know. I guess I
was trying to, and by the time I won't change it right away. Obviously, I'm going to probably change all these like a million times, because like we said, the Oscars aren't until March. So a lot of time between now and then. But I guess I was trying to think like similar to the Spider-Man No Way Home nomination or possibility. I was like, man, you know what? Bradley Cooper's just really fun in that movie. And he's like awesome. And like, I think people really like it. And maybe that'll be enough to get him in, you know, like that kind of thing. Like just because like he's just it just is such a funny performance, and he's so big in such a short amount of time. I was like, I don't know, maybe I think people really do like him in that. So maybe that's why he gets in. It's specious logic, but I mean, it is what I got. So I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't know if I keep Alana. I don't think I'm going to predict 2 acting nominations for it.
I wouldn't either, so that's fair. And Alana's probably a much safer prediction than Bradley. But Joyce, anything else here before we wrap up? You're gonna so tomorrow we'll do SAG, which means we get to talk about Succession more, which is great.
I know.
Are you into the Book of Boba Fett at all?
No, I haven't not watched that at all. Have you?
Same.
I'm just like every Wednesday now. I'm just like I miss Hawkeye. It's only been 2 Wednesdays, but
really fun. So we'll be back tomorrow. Joyce put Spider-Man. So now we have 5 experts.
I did. I just added it. I did it live on my phone.
We did it live. So 5 experts in for Spider-Man No Way Home. Love it. Joyce, this was fun. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.